All right. We are going live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to 32 and Goal. I'm your host, Corey, and we got episode 12, NFL Week 14 predictions. I'm going to start off talking a little bit about the game that we just witnessed on Thursday. For those of you who did witness the game, I myself did not check it out. I was able to catch the recap and catch a little bit of the scores and stuff. There's a couple talking points and breaking away points I wanted to talk about before we move on to our actual predictions and stuff. So for those of you who don't know, which shouldn't be anybody. Oh, we got Rob, by the way, today. If Rob wants to say what's up. Woo. So for those of you who don't know, Jags lost 9-30 in a pretty upsetting game for the Jags. Did you get a chance to watch it by chance?
I really didn't. I had to work all day and stuff and go to school, so I went to bed early. But I saw that was it Derrick Henry had that 4 touchdown game.
Derrick Henry did have 4 touchdowns. Yeah, he had 238 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. He was averaging 14 yards a carry, which is insane. And oops, mute that real quick. So yeah, he was averaging 14 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. For those of you who have him on your fantasy football league for some reason, he had 47 points, which is crazy because just last week people were talking about how he was like the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, or worst starting running back in the NFL, on Reddit and other social media platforms. And if I was an owner, I probably still wouldn't start him next week. I don't think he's going to be able to do that again. I think that was kind of a fluke thing. But what I really want to talk about, though, is what are your thoughts on Cody Kessler and what's the future for Blake Bortles, do you think?
Well, I don't know how true it is, but I saw a post about Blake Bortles going to be cut this offseason, just off the team, which is going to be a big problem with Jacksonville. They're already projected to be like 9 million over the cap space for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Cutting him would just add a bunch of dead money onto that. So I don't know. They have a bunch of decisions to make. If they cut him, they're gonna have to readjust a bunch of contracts or let some people go. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think I think they should be getting away from Black Bortles. He's not the guy.
Yeah, I agree. Cody Kessler, he did okay yesterday, 24 for 43. But like you were saying, I don't think Blake Bortles is the guy for this team. I think he probably could go to another team next year and start. But, I think the Jaguars were a team this year that a lot of people thought were going to make another playoff run. And they just been kind of upsetting. They've been like upsetting to
One
watch.
game away last, yeah, one game away last year from the Super Bowl, and they're not even gonna make the playoffs this year.
Not even going to make the playoffs. They're last in their division. They're not even going to be. Yeah, they're going to finish last in their division. I don't think they're going to not finish last. Colts, Titans, and Texans are all pretty consistent, and Jags just lose randomly. So, that's pretty much that. Marcus Mariota went 18 for 24. I know how much you love Marcus Mariota, so we're going to bring him up real quick, but that is that. So, first game of the week, we got the Panthers going to Cleveland to take on the Browns. It's a pretty interesting game, I think.
Yeah, Carolina lost 4 in a row now. So they're already talking about maybe even firing their head coach if they don't make the playoffs this year. If they miss them, it's kind of inexcusable when you start 6-2 and then all of a sudden you lose 4 games in a row and you're almost out of a playoff spot. Like the Browns last week had a tough game in Houston. It's a tough environment playing, especially on the road. But this is definitely an interesting game. I don't know how this one's gonna play out. I think a lot of people would probably look at this game and go, "Oh yeah, Carolina should win this game." but you could look at the past 4 games and say, yeah, Carolina should have won some of those.
Not against the
So I don't
Lions.
know. I think this is an interesting.
I agree. But the 4 teams, a lot of people are talking about them losing 4 teams, and they did. The 4 teams they played though aren't bad teams. They lost the Steelers, Lions, Seahawks, Buccaneers. Um, but yeah, it's kind of gonna be an interesting game, I think. The Panthers need to win this game. Not only to end that losing streak that you were just talking about, but because they're only 1 game away from being in the, NFC bracket. And, if the Vikings lose this week, which they very well could, and the Panthers beat the Browns, which they very well could, Carolina's looking at that last seat. And, that's something a lot of us were like predicting them to win out. Well, not win out, but, do very well for the rest of the season. I don't think anyone really expected the Panthers to lose 4 in a row and look kind of not even the same team as they did at the beginning of the year. So, with the exception of last week, the Browns have been pretty productive in the run game, though. Chubb, ever since old boy went down to Florida, he's had a 176-yard rushing game against the Falcons, but I think that's going to be a little bit different this week. Carolina currently has the 6th-ranked rushing defense, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of keep up with that production out of Chubb this week, or if they're going to air the ball out a little bit more. But on the other side of the ball, the Browns are currently ranked 28th against the run, allowing 136.4 rushing yards per game. Their rush defense is a bit weak, which I think is a bit surprising because, the Browns have a pretty solid all-around defense, but they're struggling against the run, and I think because of that, we're going to see a big game out of McCaffrey this week. So, I got the Panthers winning this week, which I think is actually one of the first times I've picked the Browns to lose, but yeah, I got the Panthers winning.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think this is a game that Carolina should win. I think they have to win this game. I'm also I'm becoming a Browns fan. I really think they're going to be my AFC team moving forward. I'm a fan of Baker Mayfield. I just been impressed with the guy all year. Just how he keeps his pose, how he plays well. I think the future is very bright for them. But I think Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey are going to run all over these guys.
Yeah, I mean, once they get their coaching situation all figured out and settled in, I think we'll start seeing a whole new team next year. So, I agree. Next game, we got the which one is it? The Ravens going to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Ravens 7-5, Chiefs 10-2. I think it's gonna be a good game.
This is a big game for Baltimore, though. They've been playing a lot better with Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since Joe Flacco got hurt or benched or whatever his issue is. But this is a big game too for playoff spots because you kind of look at that last spot in the AFC and there's like 6 teams fighting for that spot right now. So this is a big game for Baltimore, but at least this week, man, I think it's just a little too big of a test. Is just unreal. We always talk about this guy, but he deserves to be talked about, man. He is just lighting the league up, and I don't know, man. I want to pick them for the Super Bowl this year, but I think their defense needs to step up a little bit. But I for sure have Kansas City win this game. It's at home. Baltimore's got a good defense, man, but I don't see them beating Kansas City.
Yeah, I agree. Just to put it in perspective for those of you listening, Baltimore is 7-5. The Titans are 7-6, and then Miami, Indianapolis, and Denver are all 6-6. So he was not kidding when he said there's 4 or 5 teams fighting for that spot right now. It looks like at this point in the season, the Chargers pretty much have that wild card spot locked up. They're 2 games ahead of Baltimore right now, so that last spot is pretty much up for grabs. But yeah, I agree. The Chiefs took a bit of a blow offensively when Kareem Hunt got removed from the team. But Patrick Mahomes still has 51 passing, or 41, not 51, 41 passing touchdowns. So it's not like, and where is, was their guy before, he's their guy again. So I don't think it's going to hurt them too much. They struggled a little bit last week against the Raiders. But that's besides the point. It's a whole new game, and it's not a division game. Like you were saying, Baltimore does have a really good defense. They rank 2nd in the pass defense and 3rd in rush defense. So I don't think their offense is going to be able to compete, though. It's what it's going to come down to because, like you were saying, Patrick Mahomes tearing the league up, and he's tearing good defenses up. He put up 50 points against the Rams, which was just a high-intensity game. But, I don't think it's really going to matter how much or how good the Ravens defense is. They might get a pick here or there, a couple turnovers, but unless they're scoring every single drive, which I don't know if Flacco and this offense can do, they don't really have that great of a chance. So, a mouthful, winded. All right, Colts going to Texas to take on the Texans. Go for it.
Oh, man.
Oh, you got Chiefs winning that game, by the way?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got Chiefs also. All right. Cool.
What a disappointing game last week for the Colts. 0 points against Jacksonville. And Jacksonville only scored 6 points. So I don't know. I was really disappointed in the Colts just because they were on a hot streak for a while. I really thought they would win out, to be honest, and make the playoffs and stuff. Now it's kind of like, ooh, are they gonna make the playoffs or not? Because they're playing the Texans this week, who have won 9 games in a row. They are like the hot team in the league right now. This game, it's in Houston too. I think it's gonna be a big shootout. I think it's gonna be one of those games where, 30 plus points for each team, just because of the implication of the game. Like, this is a big, not just a divisional game, but like we talked about already, where there's like 5 teams fighting their playoff spot, and the Colts want to get in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Texans don't want to see these guys in the playoffs again. So I think it's gonna be a good game, man. But I'm gonna go with the Texans, man. I gotta ride the win streak.
Yeah, I agree. It's crazy. I didn't get a chance to watch the game, the Colts Jaguars game, but Colts only scored 0 points, like you said. But Andrew Luck had 248 yards, so it's kind of, I'm gonna have to go back and look to see why. But were they just struggling in the red zone, or were they just, he only had 1 interception, so it's not like he was turning it over all the time. Were they just not being able to be productive? Because I'm looking, I see Eric Ebron had 81 yards, T.Y. Hilton had 77 yards. I feel like they should at least get some points there, but.
I don't know. I think it was a lot of like the Jaguars defense just coming to play that day.
Yeah.
I don't know. Definitely a weird game.
It is a weird game. And let's see. Yeah. Weird. So I got the Texans winning as well. With the addition of Demaryius Thomas down there in Houston, I think that's just another target that Deshaun Watson has to throw to. And DeAndre Hopkins is, in my opinion, one of the, if not the best wide receiver in the game right now. Just week in and week out, watching this guy tear it up, catching balls with his nutsack and with his butt and doing this acrobatic shit to catch the balls. absolutely insane. Um, and I like the Colts. I like Andrew Luck. He definitely has my vote. Not that it matters for comeback player of the year. Eric Ebron is doing work down there. Hilton is doing work down there. But this Texans team, like you said, in Texas, their fans are riled up. One of my buddies is actually a big Texans fan. So, you were saying the Browns might be your AFC team, but Texans are kind of mine. And, earlier this season, he was like, oh, we're 0-3. I'm not going to watch any more football. And I was like, dude, just watch. Like, as soon as Watson gets comfortable again, you guys are going to start tearing it up. And, they have been. So, this team is impressive. Their defensive star, J.J. Watt, is, healthy again. He's making sacks left and right, just play after play. And so this Texans team is from, a lot of people were counting them out early in the season. And now, they're pretty much another win tonight. And they have this division pretty much wrapped up in their playoff spot. So will they be able to compete with teams in the in the playoffs? I don't know. We'll get there when we talk about it, or we'll talk about it when we get there. But as of right now, I think the Texans are going to go in, beat the Colts, and bring home a win. So they're just a good, fun team to watch too, man. Like DeAndre Hopkins can catch. I wish we had him. All right, next game. What's the next one? Did I just exit that? Where did that go? 1 second. Having some technical difficulties. All right. Next game is the Patriots going to Miami to take on the Dolphins. This will be interesting.
So, yeah, this is an interesting game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Miami, another one of those teams that are fighting for that playoff spot. And Miami is actually the place that Tom Brady has lost the most for that division. He struggles down there. I don't know why, but he just does. This Patriots team, I think they're fine, 9-3. But I think there's just something wrong with them, man. Like Brady's not playing terrible, but he's not playing great. He's let's see. He's got 20 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Not terrible, right?
Not terrible.
But I think it could be better. Yeah.
Especially because
and
his
like
team.
Gronk is just hurt all the time. So they're the Patriots, and everyone has to give them respect because they're always going to be there and stuff. But I really don't think they're Super Bowl bound this year. I think this is the year they regress. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be fine. They'll if they don't get a first round bye, I think they'll still make it to the divisional round and everything. But I don't know. I don't feel comfortable about this team this year as I have in I guess recent years. But I think this week though, I think the Patriots get it still. Miami, it's a divisional game. They want to get these bums out of the playoffs too.
Right. Yeah. Not to piggyback pretty much on what you were saying, the Patriots, and you were saying that Tom Brady only has 20 touchdowns, and a lot of it has to do with Rob Gronkowski being injured. And to piggyback off what you were saying on, is this the year they regress? I don't see Gronk being in the league that much longer. And, without Gronk, who knows where Gordon will be next year. You're looking at a team with White and Edelman and Chris Hogan, and that's not exactly an elite group of wide receivers. So there's definitely going to be some, falling between this team. I wouldn't be surprised if they start looking to replace Tom Brady in the offseason. I know they got Brian Hoyer still, but is that right? Did they have him? I don't know.
Yeah, that's backup quarterback.
Yeah, and so I know they still got him, but he's probably not the guy. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a quarterback soon. Uh, but man, Gronk is definitely the backbone to this team, and when his back is broken, there's not really much they're working with. But it's gonna be interesting this game because, like you were saying, the Miami Dolphins need this win. They're one of those 6-6 teams that we were just talking about, and I think the Dolphins pretty much, or the Patriots smoked them earlier this year, 7-38. So in Miami, I don't know what the weather's gonna be like. Probably 1,000 degrees, but we'll see. I got the Patriots winning as well. I would like to see the Dolphins win, but what can you do? Moving on, we got the Giants taking on the Redskins. Now, this is a game that I don't know about. We can look at these two teams and compare talent, and I think talent-wise, I'm going to go with the Giants. I'll just say it right out the back because, the Redskins don't really have a good quarterback right now. But, talent-wise, we look at this team and we see that, the Giants are pretty much what? 2 guys, 3 guys if you count Sterling Shepard. But they're basically just Odell Beckham Jr. and Saquon Barkley. But they're good enough. Those 2 guys are good enough to carry this team, which is insane considering they got, Eli Manning, who is probably a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's one of those guys who's regressed hard, and I feel like they don't have the heart to get rid of him. And so he's probably just going to play another year or 2 in his old age and be bad. But, something's got to change in this team. They have talent. They kind of gutted their defense recently, but they have talent. So we'll see how it goes. I hope Saquon Barkley isn't one of those players kind of like Barry Sanders back in the day, or Calvin Johnson, or just any line really, where you have these talented players and they're put on an untalented team and they just can't do anything. I like Saquon Barkley. I want to see him be successful. I think he's going to ask for a lot of money when his contract's up in a couple years, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to pick the Giants to win this one.
Yeah, same here. Just because you got Mark Sanchez now starting for the Redskins after both Alex Smith and Cole McCoy, broke their legs and stuff.
Did Colt McCoy break his leg too?
Yeah,
I did not see that.
His leg last week too, so now they're down to Mark Sanchez.
That's brutal. I saw he got a butt fumble.
Yeah, even the head coach said they have limited plays for Mark Sanchez in the playbook, so it'll probably open up a little bit this week, especially with them having like a 10-day break. But Mark Sanchez has been out of the league and not a starting quarterback for a reason. Even though it's at home and stuff, man, I think the Giants are playing a lot better than they were in the beginning of the season. So I think they get this one.
Yeah. Saints, Buccaneers. I'm going to go with the... I don't really want to talk about this game. I think we're kind of falling behind schedule, so there's a couple games I'm going to just kind of skip past. I know we're going to talk about the Falcons, Packers, and that one's next. So who's your pick between the Saints and the Bucs?
I'm gonna pick Saints. I think they're mad about that Cowboys game last week. And it's gonna be a tough game though, man. Like I really thought last week that Carolina was gonna beat Tampa Bay easily, but Buccaneers end up winning that one. So it's gonna be interesting. Saints kind of struggle on the road. And I think the Buccaneers are playing a little bit better now that Winston's kind of settled down. But I still think the Saints are one of the best teams in the league. I think this will be a high scoring game.
Yeah.
But yeah, give me the Saints, man. I trust Drew Brees over Jameis Winston any day.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna pick the Saints as well. Falcons, Packers in Lambeau. The frozen tundra is what they call it. I'm pretty sure. We got some. You can talk about it. I mean,
Well,
it's your team, right?
yeah, yeah. So the week obviously is Mike McCarthy got fired after the
Big
Cardinals
news.
game, which you know, I agree with. The team has just lost this year. Um, there's always been like this like every time I watch them this year, I'm always waiting for them to just like take that next step. And like each game, it's just like, okay, well, we can put it on Rodgers is hurt, or we can put it on some of the play calling is limited because we have rookie receivers playing, or this and this. And the truth is, man, it's just this team's a mess. And this team has been a mess for like 4 years now. Um, and it was just time. It was time to move on from Mike McCarthy. Some people are complaining about it that they should have waited for the end of the season,
Why?
but it actually helps him out better, and it actually helps our team out better too. Just because we can start that process now of getting a new coach sooner in our organization. He can talk to other teams, decide what he wants to do sooner. So he's a Super Bowl winning coach. He's got a winning record, and I'll appreciate like everything he's done for Green Bay. But it's been time. It's been a time coming for, geez, it, for a while now. Um, the team's just boring. The team's just stale. And even though Rodgers has been limited this year with a hurt knee, the offense should have adjusted to that, right? Or it should have just changed. Okay, so we have a limited quarterback now who can't scramble. Let's adjust the offense. And we don't do that. We don't do that at all. And the team it's just badly ran right now. I think when we get someone else in there, they'll find the right coach. Give Rodgers a shot for at least one more in the next 3 to 5 years for however long he plays. So that's the big news of the week. I have no idea how this game is going to go between the Falcons and Green Bay. Both these teams are just really disappointing this year. So I want to see Green Bay because it's at home, but about last week we win too. But I don't know. We'll see. I'll just take Green Bay because they're my team.
Yep, I got Green Bay winning as well. My biggest disappointment out of this Packers team is Jimmy Graham, man. I traded Kelsey for him in my fantasy football league. I thought that Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Graham connection was going to be almost unstoppable this year. And to see us being in week 14 with Jimmy Graham only having 2 touchdowns as a tight end who, last year was one of the best tight ends in the game. Before that, he was a great tight end down there in, New Orleans. And he went from great quarterback to great quarterback to, probably one of the best quarterbacks. And there's just no connection there. There's no connection between those two. And it's disappointing. I'm glad Aaron Jones is getting a little bit more touches. But this team is too heavily reliant on Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, great. Don't get me wrong. But when you have one quarterback or one wide receiver who's pretty much doing all the work, it's like you said, it's stale. Who are you guys gonna go to? We need some yards. Devontae Adams. Oh, it's third down. We need a quick couple yards. Jimmy Graham, maybe. I really like St. Brown. I don't know what your thoughts are on him, but I like him so far. I know he struggled a little bit running routes at the beginning of the season. Him and Jimmy Graham would often, run over each other's toes when they had to kind of extend the play. And, that's just something that he's going to have to work on with Aaron Rodgers, get that connection down. But, I think going forward, depending on, how you guys play this guy, he's going to be decent. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, back to Aaron Rodgers' injury. He's a great quarterback. But he's one of those quarterbacks that really, really excels from outside the pocket. When shit's going down, people need to get open. That's when he accelerates. and not being able to do that as effectively and then when he does do it, you got, Jimmy Graham and St. Brown kind of stumbling over each other's feet and on top of each other's routes and just can't get open the way, wide receivers of the past have. It's kind of weird. And like you said, he needed to adjust. That offense needed to adjust. But yeah, that's all I got to say about the Green Bay Packers. I got them winning as well. It's going to be interesting seeing what happens to this team. Hopefully they struggle a lot, but, that's just a fellow NFC fan or NFC North fan coming at you. So, Jets Bills. This is probably the game of the week, right?
Which one?
The Jets and the Bills. The Jets and the Bills.
Oh God.
All
right. So
you want to talk about this?
I don't know if you saw the end of the last week against the Buffalo Miami game.
Okay.
But Josh Allen actually had a really good game, and he was like one of the last plays of the game. This guy steps back in the pocket, almost gets sacked, misses a sack, runs around, almost gets sacked again, dodges another tackle, chugs it, heaves it in the end zone, and his guy, wide open in the end zone, drops it, and they lose. It was a fourth down play, and they lost the game because of that. I think these rookie quarterbacks, because Sam Darnold is going to be playing this week too against the Jets, so this is a pretty interesting matchup. These rookie quarterbacks, all of them this year are on losing teams, but I don't think a lot of it or most of it is really their fault. Baker Mayfield looks pretty good. Sam Darnold has been struggling with interceptions this year, but when he plays well, he plays well. Josh Allen is just on a bad team. I mean, they just got rid of their two top receivers because they suck. And we saw that last year with someone like Mitch Trubisky, where his receivers were terrible, and they brought in some receivers from this year, and he's been doing a lot better. So I think that if these two offenses can get some receivers and some playmakers, I think they'll be okay. Get these guys some more experience in the NFL, and I think they'll be fine. I think they're, capable starters. This week could be interesting for this game. It doesn't have any real sort of big impact in the league or anything like that, but it could probably be a good game if you're fans of both these teams. But I'm going to go Bills. I'm going to go Bills. Why not?
I was going to go Bills too, simply because it's in Buffalo. But Buffalo has the loyal fan base, so it's kind of hard to play there sometimes, especially when it gets super cold. But if they lose, I think they are done and out of the playoff contention. I don't see them coming back and making the playoffs anyway, but there's that. Bengals going to Los Angeles to take on this Los Angeles Chargers. Still kind of weird to say. So the Chargers are coming off of a loss, I believe. No, they're coming off a win. They just beat the Steelers. You right? They that game came down the wire. It was exciting. Phillip Rivers led this team to a comeback. I think it was the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that the Steelers lost when they led it by 14 points at home. But I might be wrong there.
So it was.
Was it? That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Kudos to the Steelers organization for keeping that for so long. But Phillip Rivers is doing really well this year. He has 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Rushing, Melvin Gordon has 9 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, Tyrell Williams, Mike Williams, all these guys just have touchdown after touchdown. But he does really well at spreading the ball around. These people that you've probably never even heard of, Virgil Green, Antonio Gates, Travis Benjamin, they all have touchdowns, and it's because Phillip Rivers is so good at spreading that ball around. And I don't think we're going to see much difference here. Talk about this Bengals team real quick. They were a team early in the year that I think a lot of us were thinking they would be pretty good this year. They're 5-7. They're still technically one of those 5 teams that can make the playoffs. in the AFC. But I think, earlier in the season, we were talking about how good Andrew Dalton was doing. Andrew Dalton, oh man, Andrew Dalton. And since then, he's been, average at best. So, I like Andy Dalton. I think he still has a good couple years left. He's sitting at 21 touchdowns, which isn't bad. But this is a team, the Bengals, that I thought was kind of going to be, all but in the playoffs by now. I thought they'd kind of be where the Ravens are sitting at right now. Maybe 7-5, 8-4 at this point. And so to see them being 5-7 is kind of, disappointing. But, it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. The first couple weeks of the season, I really thought the Bengals would have won this division, but the season's so long that it's kind of hard to predict teams to win it prior hand. And now they have Jeff O'Driscoll, Dan O'Driscoll as their quarterback, and they're not going to win another game this year. I don't think. And for the Chargers, man, big game, big win last week for them too, man. I was really impressed. Just because you kind of look at their schedule and they didn't have too many like big wins, and their their losses were on the road to like the loss was to like the Rams, and they also lost at home against Kansas City and Denver. So they had some wins against some okay teams, but after this win in Pittsburgh, I've been really impressed with these guys now. And I think, looking at the AFC playoffs, this is going to be a good year for the AFC. I really think so. All these teams like have a chance. I really think that. So Chargers this week for sure for me though.
Yeah, Chargers, I agree. To top on what you're saying, not to digress a lot, but the AFC has typically been the underwhelming of the two divisions for a while. The three quarterbacks, Manning, Brady, Roethlisberger, have been the three quarterbacks that typically go to the playoffs every year, to go to the Super Bowl every year. And 1 year it was Flacco, but it's been kind of a stale division, like you were saying. And this time, the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Texans, the Steelers, Chargers, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be real interesting. I hope we see, either the Kansas City Chiefs, the Texans, or the Chargers go, but, anything can happen, any playoff.
It's crazy though. Like you look at all those teams, and I could see every single one of them represent the AFC this year in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Broncos 49ers in San Francisco. Yeah. So this is a football game. I don't really think
I think this is actually a good game.
You do?
I so Denver's also one of those teams that we're talking about, where they're 6-6 right now. Trying to sneak their way in that playoff spot. A couple weeks ago, man, I really thought these guys were done. I really thought that they were like, I don't know, 3-6, 4-6, something like that. And I was like, yeah, they're done. Good game, Denver. Look for the draft. Now, dude, they're sneaking up, and they have one of like the best defenses in the league, especially that defensive line with Von Miller and Nicholas Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow, man, these guys are insane. They have. Let me check. Hold on. I have a bunch of sacks. I know that. So Von Miller has 12.5. And
yeah, the team has 37 sacks.
Right. So they're yeah, and I'm trying to look at Chubb here. What's he got?
Chubb has 10.
He has 10. So they're combined for 22.5 sacks. Just those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense took a big hit though recently with Demarius Thomas leaving, and now Emmanuel Sanders went his towards Achilles. So that's gonna be their biggest their hinder is that offense. But they won with their defense a couple years ago, didn't they?
Yes. I don't know if that was a rhetorical question or not. You
Well,
know,
they did. They did. I mean,
the 49ers are done. So it's going to be interesting to see if they want to ruin, you know, or if they try to, go down the rest of the season, maybe get old boy who's coming up in #1 prospect out of Ohio State, whatever his name is. So it's interesting. At the beginning of the season, 49ers, if you were to say they went 2-10, I would have laughed. I probably wouldn't have believed you. Especially the way they ended the season last year with their new quarterback. But, anything can happen, like we were just talking about. The seasons are long. One injury to, a star player at the beginning of the season can make you go 2-10 at this point in the season. It's crazy. I got the Broncos winning this one, even though it's in San Francisco. Even though, like you were just saying, they got injuries. They're kind of tanking. I think they have more to play for. I really like Philip Lindsay. I think he's going to be great. I think they're going to probably see a lot of production out of him this weekend against this 49ers defense, who currently ranks what are they currently ranked? They are San Francisco. They are 15th against the run. So to see Philip Lindsay, he'll probably have a decent game. I think he'll have a decent game, maybe a touchdown too. But yeah, I got the Broncos winning. So
same here.
man. All right, I think this next one's gonna be pretty decent. Eagles versus the Cowboys. This is a good game. It's really important because you got the Dallas Cowboys, who are currently 7-5, and the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 6-6. Whoever wins this game will be, if the Cowboys win, they'll be 8-5. And if the Philadelphia Eagles win, they'll be 7-6. And I believe they would take over to be the front runners in that division and have that playoff spot right now. The Cowboys lose. I think they'll go down to 7-6 and have that wild card spot. So if the Eagles win, I think both of them are kind of in that wild card spot, playoff spot. So that's interesting. Because of that, I think we're going to see a more upbeat game, a high intensity game between these two. Last week, Golden Tate, ex-Lions player, kind of went into this team, and he finally kind of had an impact on this team. He got his first touchdown as an Eagle, and he had 85 yards. So I think they're starting to get a little bit of a connection there, Carson Wentz and Golden Tate. They're running out of time. He's on a 1-year lease right now. But, you still got Zach Ertz, Aguilar is how you say his name, and, a decent group of running backs. And Darren Sproles, he's okay. Josh Adams, he's all right. And then on the other side of the ball, the Cowboys, they're a team that, just a couple weeks ago, a lot of people were just saying they're straight trash. And then all of a sudden they go to almost a different level, right? And they go on a little win streak. They start winning some games. They're doing great. So it's kind of, what are they at? They just beat the Saints last week, what we talked about earlier, which is insane. Their defense just was crazy good against this, high intensity Saints team. The Cowboys, they beat the Redskins before that, the Falcons before that, the Eagles before that, lost to the Titans before that. So, they're on a little win streak, and I think it's going to continue. But is it? I don't know, man. What do you think? This is a close one. Who's at home? Who's at home? It's going to be Cowboys. I'm going to go with the Cowboys just because of that. So yeah, that's who I got to win that game.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Dallas. The Eagles, they're just disappointing this year. I mean, last week they really struggled actually against the Redskins. They didn't really open up until um, like late in the fourth quarter and stuff like that. I just think their offense is off. I don't know if they're just not clicking or whatever it is. And for Dallas, their offense is actually done a lot better now with Amari Cooper. He's played a lot better in Dallas than he did in Oakland. Zeke's run the ball over, and the biggest problem right now, though, I think, is just Dak Prescott. He's just still not trusting his reads. He's just staring down receivers all the time. He's just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Dak. I'm not a big fan, but the defense the Cowboys was really impressive last week against the Saints. I mean, held those guys to like 10 points. That's You don't do that to Drew Brees.
Right?
So yeah, for sure, I'm going Cowboys.
It's looking at the rest of the Eagles schedule. They got the Cowboys this week. Then they're going to LA to take on the Rams. Then they're going back home to play the Texans, and then they're going to Washington to play the Redskins. So they have a tough schedule. This is a must-win for them because I don't see them beating the Rams next week, and I don't see them beating the Texans, depending on injuries. But, man, interesting. Steelers, Raiders. I think the Steelers pretty much have this one in the bag. Any given Sunday, sure, but the Steelers compared to this Raiders team is just so much better. The Raiders are in full rebuild mode. They're out of playoff contention. They're currently 2-10. Some would say the worst team in the league. What are your thoughts, man?
I agree.
So I really like Juju Smith. I would say he's one of my favorite players in the league, though.
Yeah, man, I agree. Raiders are ready to be done with the season and just look forward to the draft. Steelers, I think they're coming off that big loss last week. I'm gonna be kind of mad. So, yeah, I expect them to have a big game. Steelers for sure.
Cool. Next, we got the Lions going to Arizona to take on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. Kind of said that weird. This is, Lions fan here. It's kind of weird. We're pretty much littered with injuries. Kerryon Johnson's not playing this week. Marvin Jones Jr. isn't playing this week. There's talk of Kenny Galladay not playing this week. Matthew Stafford was limited in practice with a back injury this week, probably from carrying this team. But it's interesting. If I think we can beat them. I don't know if we can beat them if Stafford doesn't play. I'm not sure Matt Castle can kind of do that, but I think overall we have a better team than the Cardinals. I kind of hope we lose so we get a better draft spot, but if we win, we win. So I don't know. I would wish I could talk about this more, but it's just not an interesting game. Lions are probably gonna do some Lionsy shit and lose, but man, there's no one. They don't really have anyone playing this week, so it's gonna be brutal to watch.
Yeah, I'll pick the Lions too. Arizona beat us last week, but maybe we're the worst team in the league. But I don't know. This is a game Lions should win. If they don't, blow it all up, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Just blow it up.
I'll go Detroit. I'll just say Detroit. Why not?
All right. These next two games, I'm pretty excited to talk about. First, we got Sunday Night Football, primetime game. Rams going to Chicago, take on the Chicago Bears. Mitch Trubisky, and what some people are saying is one of the better defenses in the league. I don't know. We got so on one side defense we got Ndamukong Suh, we got Donald. On the other side we got Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks. This is gonna be a good game. Offense, they both got a pretty decent offense. I hope Trubisky plays. I think this is a pretty important game for him to play. He's been out last couple games. But yeah, like we were just talking about, they came in, they brought in some wide receivers. They completely 180 this Chicago team. Then they bring in, Khalil Mack, and they just start winning. And Trubisky is currently sitting on 20 touchdowns, which I think, only, a druggie would say he'd have that many this year. And we still got a couple games to go. He's doing really well on his feet. He's got Jordan Howard, who's doing okay. He's not that great of a quarter or running back, but he's all right. Then you got a couple of good wide receivers in Cohen and Robinson, Burton and Miller. With Anthony Miller has 6 touchdowns or whatever. He's a running back, I think. No, he's their wide receiver. That was dumb of me to say. So, yeah, I think they brought in these weapons that kind of complemented Mitch Trubisky really well. But on the other side of the ball, man, this Rams team is so good. They almost lost to the Lions. But I don't see that happening again. I think the score on that Rams Lions game is 30-16, and that score doesn't really show the whole story. For 3.5 quarters, the Lions were just shutting this Rams team down. They're forcing this Rams team to punt a lot, and they were doing pretty well against the rush. They were stopping Todd Gurley, and I think that's what the Bears are going to have to do to win this game is limit Todd Gurley. They have a better pass rusher than the Lions, so it's going to be an interesting game. I think both quarterbacks are going to be under a lot of pressure this week, both mentally and physically. I don't see either of these guys having a lot of time in the pocket, and I think it's going to be a great game. I'm really excited for this game, so we'll see how it goes. Because this is definitely a game we're going to see probably in a couple of weeks in the playoffs, right? So, man, I don't know. I just talked a lot. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, man. These are two teams that I could definitely see each other again in January. I don't know, man. It's gonna be a tough game. Like it's hard to pick just because that Bears defense is so good, but the Rams offense is just so unstoppable sometimes. It's gonna be cold. This is gonna be a cold, windy game. It's at night. It's in Chicago. I think it's Chicago's game to win, man. I don't know. They got a healthy Trubisky, man. I'm actually taking the Bears in this one.
I actually have the Bears winning as well. I forgot to say that. Just watching the Rams play, man, against the Lions, against a banged up Lions team who struggles against this Bears team. I think the Bears are probably going to beat the Rams. It's crazy, but it doesn't really matter for the Rams if they win or lose. They're in the playoffs, so yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Sorry if I cut you off and you had more to say, man. I'm just excited about this game. So.
Oh no, I'm actually really excited to watch this game too, man. I think this is the game of the week. This is a game where we know the Rams are good, right? We know the Rams are going to go to the playoffs. We know they're going to probably have a bye week. But it's going to be, man, if this is a game that the Bears win, that's a huge step forward for them. It's a huge, just here we are. We're Chicago, man. We're not taking anyone's shit. And so I don't know, man. If they win this game, man, that'll be a big wake up call for the NFL, I think. And potentially the Bears I could see the Bears making the Super Bowl this year, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I was saying that earlier. We can go back and look at some episodes of 32andGoal from the first couple of weeks we started doing the show, and I was saying I think on our very first episode, if Trubisky snuck into the top 15 quarterbacks, we got a Super Bowl team on our hands. I didn't expect the Rams to be this explosive at this point, but I'm not changing it. I hope they don't win just because I don't want to listen to Bears talk about the 2019 Bears team for the next 40 years, but it's just it, man. They're good. So all right, you ready to move on? Still want a circle jerk for this game or moving on?
No. Yeah.
All right, Vikings going to Seattle, take on the Seahawks. This is this is an interesting game as well. Both of them are currently in the wild card spot in the NFC. Seahawks are sitting at 7-5, and Minnesota 6-5-1. Kirk Cousins is doing all right, 23-9. Dalen's killing it this year. Stephon Diggs is doing all right. Kyle Rudolph is clutching situations. On the other side of the ball, Russell Wilson is tearing it up like usual. 29 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, so he's doing really well. Spreading the ball around, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different receivers with touchdowns. So that's crazy. Normally, I would say the Vikings, I think, for this game, which, by the way, is also going to be a good game because it's a pretty important game. But because this is in Seattle, and Seattle's typically one of the harder places to play, I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. I have mixed feelings about the Seahawks. Sometimes I like him. I like Russell Wilson. I think when they win, they get really, really cocky as a fan base, and when they lose, you kind of just don't hear anything from them. And that's most teams, right? But their fan base has been pretty quiet for the last couple of years. So, I like Russell Wilson. I think he's a good player. I got the Seahawks winning this one.
Yeah. Not to just pick the same team as you, man, with Seattle too, but I'm picking Seattle, man, just because there's something wrong with the Vikings this year. They're last in the for rushing attempts, I think, and they're just bad at running the ball. And that forces Kirk Cousins to keep constantly throwing all the time.
Try to make something out of nothing, like every game. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just makes mistakes. And they paid him all this money to win football games, but he's proven that he hasn't really. I mean, he didn't beat the Patriots last week. Lost a couple other games this year that against the Rams. That was a big game he should have won. He didn't. For the amount of money he is owed, he should be winning these games. He hasn't, and the defense also hasn't really stepped up at times. So I don't know. I think Minnesota actually misses the playoffs this year. I don't think they get in.
Yeah, I mean, is it really Kirk Cousins' fault that they can't run the ball though? Is that on him? Maybe if he called some audibles.
The offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, the head coach has come out and basically called out his offensive coordinator publicly, and it's not really they're well, we're working on it. He's well, we should run the ball more, and they don't.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at their schedule. They tied to the Packers. Everyone in the NFC North had a pretty tough schedule. But they haven't won any of these big games. The Rams they lost. They beat the Eagles, which I think is a little bit more of a big deal back when it happened. But looking at the Eagles now, it's kind of eh. They lost to the Saints. They lost to the Bears. They beat the Packers, but same thing. No offense. And they lost the Patriots. They're beating these bad teams. The Lions, the Jets, the Bills. They lost to the Bills. I forgot about that. They lost to the Bills. So maybe you have something there when you say they should be winning these games. And man, it's brutal. I'd rather have the Vikings do well than the Bears, but that's just me. So, yeah, interesting. So, I did this with Ryan last week. What are your predictions for the playoffs? Who's in, who's out? Real quick.
All right, let me pull the standings. For AFC, the top 5 teams, they're all in, right? You got the Chiefs, Patriots, Texans, Steelers, Chargers. They're all in. Mm-hmm. That last spot. I'm gonna say the Titans.
Here's the thing, though.
But I don't feel comfortable saying it. I'll say the Titans, but I don't feel comfortable about it.
Here's the thing, though. You said the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Texans, the Steelers, and the Chargers are all on, but that's not true. The Steelers and the Ravens currently have the same wins. So there's not really like a team there that's guaranteed in. The Steelers are playing the Raiders, but then they go to the Patriots, or then they play the Patriots at home. Then they go to New Orleans, and then they play the Bengals. 2 of those games are pretty tough. As for the Ravens, they got the Chiefs, tough game. Buccaneers, Chargers, tough game. Browns, divisional game, so it's going to be a tough game. So, that's going to be an interesting final 4 games right there. So I actually think the Steelers are in, a tough spot, and they might not make the playoffs. So you got Titans. I think the Colts are going to kind of sneak up in there as well. So I'm actually, at this point, this is going to be kind of a stupid prediction, but whatever. I think the Ravens take I think they take the AFC North, and I think the Colts sneak up in there and get that last spot, and the Steelers don't make it.
Interesting. It would be crazy, I think, if that would happen.
I think it's crazy too. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's what I'm predicting. So whatever. I'll probably change it next week. NFC.
Yeah, so Rams, Saints, they're in. I think Chicago wins that division for the North. And I think Dallas wins the East. I think they're going to win this week against Eagles, and I think they're going to finish out strong. They might finish 10-6 or 11-5. 10-6 probably sounds about right. And the wild card, I got Seattle. I'm gonna say Carolina. I know they're on a losing streak, man, but I just think they're better than what they have been playing. But we'll see. We'll see in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So the Panthers are playing the Browns this weekend. But remaining on their schedule, they have 2 Saints games. So that's brutal. So, yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to win that division. It's so sad looking at a team that won the Super Bowl just having such bad Super Bowl hangover this year, man. And, it's a team that, like, a lot of people were like, okay, I don't like the Eagles, but I'm glad, the Patriots didn't win the Super Bowl again type thing, and, having another team in there in that mix, and then they're just gone, which is interesting for the NFC. It changes things up, whereas, the AFC is the same 8 teams all the time. But, yeah, I pretty much, we can look at these teams. We can count Arizona out. No way they went out. Detroit Lions, we can count them out. Giants, probably not. Falcons, probably not. Packers, probably not. Buccaneers, probably not. So Washington, Eagles, Carolina, Minnesota, Seattle, and Cowboys and Bears, they're all interchangeable. Oh man, this is brutal. I think it's gonna be the way it is right now. Like what you said, Rams, Saints, Bears, Cowboys. And then for my wild card, I like Seattle. They win. If they win this weekend, I think it's pretty much a wrap. Because I think the remaining of their schedule kind of lightens up a little bit. Let's see. I'm trying to make this quick so we're not in front of our thousands of viewers all night. But yeah, so they got the 49ers. Ooh, they got the Chiefs in 2 weeks, and then the Cardinals. So, yikes. So yeah, I don't know. The Panthers, I think they have they have Saints twice, man. And the Vikings, they got 2 division NFC North games, and even though the Packers and the Lions are struggling this year, the NFC North games are pretty tough every single time. So, man, I'm gonna go with Seattle and the Detroit Lions. So,
all right, see you.
You got any? I think that's a wrap for this week, week 14. You got anything you want to say before we leave? Anything we weren't able to address?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think we pretty much covered all the basics. I think there's some good games in here this week. There's some bad games. A lot of it's coming down to that final wire, or the final leg, the final, I don't know what you want to call it. The hunt. We're in the hunt for the wild card spot. And I think the first time in a while we have so many teams still in it. There's a lot of people that are still alive, but really they have no chance. But there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams on both sides that are still in the hunt, like in the hunt, not just like they're not been eliminated yet. They don't need some weird thing where like the Lions win out and the Packers also win out, even though they play each other and they tie, and then the Browns have to fly into Arizona on a Tuesday to win. It's like these teams are in it, and I think it's exciting. I think this is probably one of the better years of football, this late in the season that we've had in a while. So I'm excited. I am excited. Well, I think that's gonna do it for tonight. Yeah. Follow us on Twitter and Twitch, and YouTube. All the stuff will be down below in the descriptions. Tweet us. That'd be fun. But yeah, that's our show. We will see you next week, maybe. I got some finals this week, so I don't know how available I'll be. But we might be back Monday with Ryan. If not, we'll see you guys next Friday. So thank you guys for stopping by. It means a lot, really does. So peace out. 32 and goal is out.